Now all of a sudden I'm
We
going to have
are recording.
performance anxiety.
We are recording, and that means it's time for me to go to mute.
All right. All right. So I've only had I've only had the privilege of managing one property for this, but I learned a whole lot about legals that I did not know. It was for the Macon Telegraph, so I'm going to share a lot of things that I learned with them that as it relates to how you can configure the portal. So first off, there's no limit to any classification that we can support. And you can make available those classifications to whomever you want. So you could have, an external user, like in Macon's case, they didn't let private parties do foreclosures. It had to be a legal institution that could do a foreclosure. So they opened that up for the foreclosures. They opened that up only for the legal institutions and restricted it to everybody else. The key point that Kim brings out, I think, really underscores the power of this, because you're looking at several different classifications here. And I can tell you from my setup days with Macon, each of these had different insertion requirements, not only the number of requirements, but how frequent. Some municipalities say that they can't appear in the paper fewer than 7 days apart. So they have to be once a week for 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever. So, and all of that can be programmed in so that, there's some heavy lifting up front, but once it's configured, anybody and their brother can do it. The other key thing that's really nice about it is that we take the complexity out of having to remember, okay, what part of this has to be bold and centered, and what is the legal jargon and where does it have to go? It's all can be pre-formatted in the legal classification template for this one. I'm going to have to do some typing, but if you have any questions at this point, feel free to ask them now, because I can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
While you're typing, James, I'm also going to throw out to Trent and Bonnie that just like we're doing for the rest of SWIFT, we can support multiple papers in multiple counties and states in a single system. So we have many examples of that. So just like you're going to have a different rate table in Vail than you're going to have, Bryce, wherever Bryce is, it's all the same in that way. We just simply upload whatever the local rules are. Pricing to the rules, it all can be customized to the individual paper and the individual market on a single system, okay? And then you have the tiered login, of course. Trent can see everything, and the local folks can see what they're supposed to see. Trent sees all.
The other thing, and this is more specific to affidavits, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, but we do put a placeholder for the order number. So we had to create that functionality when we started doing legal notices, because that's a requirement that the order number be published in the legal notice. Everything else from this point is very similar, with the exception of you get the proof, and then on the schedule page, this is where it manages how many insertions this particular classification has to happen. And unless there are no restrictions on the frequency unless specified. If there are, so Macon had one that had to run 2 Saturdays, one that had to run 4 Saturdays. When they picked a start date, we automatically selected the next 3 consecutive Saturdays, or the next number of Saturdays. The other thing I'll point out here is another thing that I didn't realize is how varied the pricing is when it comes to legals. There's certain classifications that are flat rated. There are certain classifications that are insertion based pricing. There are other classifications that are line based, and even in Macon's case, we had to create a a new pricing capability to price by the block of words. So for their foreclosure, I think it was $10 per 100 words. So that's another advantage that we have, is that we have such a diverse rating table that we can rate these in any way that you like. All right, so I'm not going to go through the rest of it because you know that part pretty forwards and backwards. They're going to pull out a credit card and they're going to pay for it. If they're a legal institution, they have an account with you, they'll put it on a bill me later option. I did want to show one other feature from a live site that's kind of cool. In California, and this just speaks to how the application can support all of the different business rules out there in the different municipalities and cities. So in California, to run a fictitious business name ad, the county clerk has to be identified in the ad, whoever the county clerk is at the time that the ad is running. And rather than having the user, remember that, we just created a lookup table that when they put in Contra Costa County, that clerk comes in with her title and signature block and all that. I don't know why they didn't do it for the deputy clerk, but I thought that was kind of cool. So you can have different relational things that way as well. The last feature I'll point out is, and this came up, and we developed this feature when I was doing project managing for Macon. So a lot of times the legal institutions, they will use their own, Word editor and like Microsoft Word, and these legal notices and documents are used more than just publishing them in the paper, right? So they've already formatted this in some way or another. They know what the rules are, and we made it available for them to be able to use their word processor and to be able to just import the formatted notice into our application and retain the formatting. So that's all I'm going to show you. So we added this. Obviously we can turn on typographical features so that if they wanted to, start and finish the legal notice right here and type it from scratch here, they could do all of the bold and centering that they need to do, or they can just use Word, and anything, they click on this paste from Word button, anything that's pasted into this palette retains its formatting. And so a legal institution within seconds can do a pretty big legal notice.
And are there any size restrictions? Like we have our water legals and our tax liens that are pages long. Are there
broadsheet pages long?
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie,
they run both broadsheet and tab.
Yeah, the short answer is no. There are no. It's InDesign, right? So I can train the project managers to create a multiple page template. We do it all the time. The thing you need to know is we're going to send you a PDF that's a multiple page PDF. So post process, post sale, right? Your pre-press guys will have to break that apart into, you know what I mean?
Right.
But no, there are no limitations on that at all.
I wonder if there would be a way for you to set that up so that they were separate. Well,
ad numbers.
Yeah.
A separate PDF for each.
Mm-hmm.
A separate PDF for each page.
The only thing I don't know about is because you do have to have the ad number published.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that would fly with the courts having a different ad number on each page, or if it needs to be the same ad number. That would be my only.
Yeah.
question.
So let me talk to an engineer about that. And I need feedback from you. Does the ad number have to appear on each page of it, of the or only at the bottom of the note, at the bottom of the finished legal.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about that. I
But
haven't done legal
again,
in a long
yeah,
time.
I mean, again, I'm thinking of InDesign. I know of a way we could do that, because you can put a footer at the bottom of the page and we can automatically import data into that footer. And so it's just part of any page that's created will have a footer and it'll have that ad number in it. So again, that doesn't scare me and it doesn't concern me,
Okay.
for being able to support that.
Because those are big ones, and I know that, you know, this. I think the city and the counties in our areas will really like this, and they'll use it a lot. And those two things, of course, come from the city and the county. So those would be. I would imagine that they would like to use this system for that, if we could come up with a way for them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, on their side, no problem at all. The question's going to be, can we make it super, super simple on y'all's side for post-processing that PDF? And I think we can come up with something.
Okay, cool.
All right, so in terms of the affidavits, this is an exciting part too. So I'm going to log in. Obviously, the affidavit portion to this is one of those items that you're going to protect to an internal user only, right? So whoever's responsible for doing affidavits, when they log into the application, they will see they'll have access to this little button on the left rail here. When they click on the legal affidavit, this is in my opinion, is the other powerful thing behind this, is because the application knows, all right, which legal classification requires an affidavit? What are the business rules behind when that affidavit's ready to be published or ready to be processed, right? It has to be after the last insertion. And so the application keeps track of all that. So all that you have to do is a legal person, your notary or someone that prepares this for the notary just comes in. Anything that's on this list is ready for an affidavit. They double click the first one. It's going to create the affidavit right in front of them in seconds. They click continue. Okay, so this one this is real data. It just, it's old data from the Macon Telegraph. I wanted real data to come in here, so I had the engineer pull a few strings to get some data from Macon. But they create we've done one other thing when we create the affidavit, and this is a feature that you can turn on or off. The first page of the affidavit, right? It'll have all of your legal things that have to go on the left or on the right, however you lay it out. And then on the right, we used a high-res PDF of the ad as it ran in your paper. And that's what gets put here. On longer ones, like that multiple page, do those have to have, those multiple page ones, do they have to have an affidavit?
Not usually. The water legals we don't, and I don't believe we do with tax liens either. I don't think either one have.
Because we would have to figure out something on that end if it's a multiple page. Yeah. So typically, what we do here is we put the PDF and we fit the PDF on the right so that it kind of qualifies that, okay, here's the ad. It has the ad number and everything in it. And then on the second page, on those longer legal notices, the font the size of the PDF can make it so that you can't really read the text of the legal. So we put all of the text of the legal on the second page of the affidavit if you require that. So then they just hit finish, Bonnie. This is the cool part. They hit finish. It downloads the affidavit directly to that person's screen. So your notary could do this, right? The notary would get this. It's right there for her. She hits print. She's printing it. While that's printing, she goes back to the site and she goes on to the next one. And then as she works her way through it, that list goes away, and the only ones that are on there are ones that reached their end run date and it's time for the affidavit to be processed.
So a couple of questions on the affidavits. You said it was internal use only to access and print the affidavits. Is there a way that we can give or set it up so that a customer could have a login to print their own affidavits? If we have a customer, for example, I think about the city and the county, if they're set up on a invoiced status or a billed status, could we set it up so that they could go in and print their own affidavits? So that's question one. And then the same, what goes hand in hand with that is, can we set it up to have a digital signature? So like right now, we're set up in our system to have a digital signature so that we can email out the affidavits. We only physically mail probably 10 to 15% now of our affidavits. The majority are
That's
sent
awesome.
by now with a digital signature. So I think that we have a lot of legal customers or public notice customers that would utilize this system themselves, and we could take our people completely out of it, and they could go in, they would print the affidavits as they came available, and we would
notary themselves, they notarize their own.
Well, and with the digital signature, we don't need it. We don't need to have them notarized. So that is
so let me
enough.
ask a question. I'm so excited about this because
I am too, because we've been talking about this for weeks.
Yeah, I did some research about a month ago because we're getting a lot of these demos now, and especially in the age of COVID, I would think that digital notaries, the ability to do digital notary, signatures and stuff like that would increase. But so here's the thing that we have to research on that, and I'm excited about doing the research on it. We would have to figure out a way for us to be able to programmatically apply your digital signature, or you do it, you get an IT person on your end that can automatically open up the PDF for, and apply the signature. And because I would think there would be laws around, you're the notary and you can't give me the ability to apply your notary programmatically, right? I mean, that's the part we're gonna have to do the research on, and I am excited to be able to do that, but we have to figure that part out. Is it legal for us to programmatically apply that digital signature at the time of creating the affidavit when we're not the ones that are the notary,
Right.
the licensee of that service, right?
Let me check into that.
Bonnie, how are you guys applying those signatures today?
So we have that set up through our reporting system, and they're able to just bring them right into AdBooker and print them out from there.
And AdBooker applies the signature to it?
Yep.
And create when it's creating the PDF.
Right, but it's the actual legal person that does them that is doing the process, so that might be a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. So let me ask about that, and then we can kind of go from there. But as far as, so let's just say that we figured out a way for our legal person to go in and touch those. Would there be a way for us to have a login for the companies so that they could log in themselves and get a hold of those affidavits with us?
Yeah. I just made that. I made that blanket statement that this was an obvious example of where you would restrict this to internal use. You can give access. We can create access privileges to whoever you tell us to give them the ability to print affidavits. And I need to check this out too, but I'm thinking we could even give legal institution A the ability to only print out their affidavits and not legal institution B's or any of the other ones. They would only have access to legal notices that they themselves is attributed to them in somehow, and then they could create their own affidavits.
Okay.
But that would, I mean, my assumption is that they, again, would they be the ones notarizing them or signing them, right? Or do you have, I don't know where that, my assumption would be that you guys somehow have to be the ones, the final authority, because you're the ones that are publishing those notices in the paper.
Right. Well, and I think that if we can set it up where there's a digital signature though, if it's, as long as it's that person that is reviewing those, I think we'd be okay, but I'll have to do some research and find that out.
Yeah, let's do, because I'm excited about that. I want to be able to tout and show a pure digital workflow for legal notices. That's the next evolution of this.
Sign yourself up for a webinar, Bonnie, where you're the guest speaker. You know that. You know, like we're doing an LMA presentation next week, and we've got Sally Steed from Chicago. I mean, from Salt Lake Tribune, and Mary Hoffman from Chicago Sun-Times speaking. People don't want to hear from us; they want to hear from you, right? We build this. We're doing a webinar, and they're hearing from you. So that is win-win-win across the board.
Right.
The other thing too, Bonnie, that we're working on, I'm surprised you haven't asked it, maybe I haven't shut up long enough for you to be able to ask it, but is the ability to produce these in mass. Right now, it's one at a time. Right?
That was be my next question. Because like FBNs in particular with our California sites, we will get a lot of them from a lawyer or an attorney. We'll get several of them to run. So yeah, I mean, that's a good point. If we can do multiples, that's great.
Yeah, so this would give me the impetus to, especially if we figure out how we can implement the digital signature automatically or programmatically, then that would give us, further justification to get development time on doing these in, multiples rather than just one-offs.
Okay. And so with the ad numbers, does that, because will it be integrated with AdBase? So AdBase sends that ad number back and that's what prints, or your ad number prints?
It would be our ad number. But when we interface to AdBooker, we will communicate. Well, I mean, I guess we could bring the AdBooker number back this way if you'd rather do it that way. We do have an interface to where we do get in real time, we get a response file from AdBooker that will give us an ad number.
I just wonder if, because we paginate those out of AdBooker, and that is the main system, so to speak. I don't know, maybe Trent knows. Trent, do you know if that has to be the AdBooker number that runs on those?
I don't know. Yeah, my knowledge in this area is very limited.
I would think it would have to be the number out of AdBase, but
actually, you know what? I don't know. I mean, this is the Bay Area News Group, and they use AdBase as well, and they're using our number.
And my guess is it just has to be something we can reference, or they
and
just,
that you can,
they
and you would
us.
be, yeah, and you could pull an ad report that has that number on it as well, and you can do that from our system, or you can do it from AdBooker.
Right.
Okay.
It's a good question. But I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Okay. All right. So with the templates, and you kept using the word classification, but basically you refer to classification for each different type
Right.
or template that you have set up in the system. Is that how is that what
No,
classification means to you with these?
no, classification to me means it's a DUI or it's a legal notice or it's a FBN or those are classifications of legal debtors and creditor notice.
Okay, yeah. So those are the different types of legals, because
Right.
like with us, we run all of our legals together. They're not really classified or
They're not
within
sorted.
classification. Correct. Yep.
I see.
So yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that I understood what you were.
But Bonnie, is that true of all your papers? So at all the papers in the different states, they don't have different rules for different categories?
Well, so
No,
yeah,
not rules, but they don't
but
have
how
to be.
they publish all together. They're not.
Right.
We don't
Sorted.
have FBNs under one classification
I
or one
see.
under
Okay.
one header, and then they all just publish together.
I see.
So Bonnie,
Okay.
Macon had to have them sorted by classification.
Right.
So 301 was DUI, 445 was beer, wine, liquor, or whatever, and they had to have a graphic above it that says these are the DUIs and so forth.
And so these are set up exactly the same way as obits, for example. We send you all the formatting with all the different font sizes, and you put them into the system and set the templates up.
Yes. And just to be clear, I mean, I showed you the example of the beer, wine, liquor where it had pre-formatted text in it. If you guys don't require that and you just need an open text box like this, we can use one template to do it.
We would need both. We would need to have the ability for them to enter their own, but then we'd also have to have templated formats.
Right. Yeah.
All right. And then same thing as what we have set up now. If they're a build client, those will come over to AdBase to be invoiced. If they're not, we could set it up through the Agile system for prepayment and.
Correct.
All right. Cool. So
how many legals do you publish a week or a month or or daily if it's easier to do it that way? Can you give me an idea?
Well, it's varied. I mean, because we have so many publications.
Right.
Right.
I mean, it's on the classified side, it's close to being our biggest revenue producer. I mean,
wow.
And really that category is our biggest. So we have a high volume still of legal notices.
This makes perfect sense for you guys.
I also will share with you, and this may not impact you guys in the markets you're in. I don't know. This is something we talked about. Our California markets talk about this. There is currently a type of legal notice that most papers are rolling up as recruitment revenue. What is it called? It has
H1. It's called H1B1.
H1B1, which is, and I'm not. That's a bookkeeping thing. If you have to deal with those, I would put them in this system and shift the revenue over, not so that it's, because it's the same, it's the same money at the end of the day, but it's going to simplify that process as well. So I thought that was a really interesting observation. That came from the San Diego Union Tribune. Paul Ingenietti said, well, why couldn't we just move the number over to legals and I think they do 1,000 of those a day. So maybe it's not an issue where you are, but I'm just throwing out that there may be other things that sit in other categories that are actually right to be in this environment, if I explain that okay.
No, that makes perfect sense. And we do the H1B1 ads as well. It's interesting in Colorado though, because a year ago, they had to run in the newspaper, and they just changed that in January, changed that law, and they don't have to. They just have to run on a site. And so the state actually created a site for those to run on. But we do still get them, and we still process them through Colorado, and we do run them heavily in California. So
yeah.
Is the site that Colorado created self-serve? Or does the individual still have to come to you guys to put it in?
Nope, they're able to just upload it.
I see.
Self-serve, yep. And that's actually through the Colorado Department of Labor.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right.
That
Well,
brings up another good point too. We can do your feeds. So if you have these, you have certain to put these on your site or on a county site or on a state site, we can also do the feeds for that as well.
okay. Yeah, because we do we put them on our sites, of course, but then we also put them on the Colorado Press Association's site for.
Yeah.
They have a site for all the legal ads within Colorado, and we have a feed set up now to go to that site. So I guess this is a completely separate portal from classifieds, correct?
It's a separate portal, but it's the same. It will be in the same database.
Okay.
It's what we call a vertical, right? It's still one application. You're creating another vertical. It can have its own branding and everything, but all the data, all the customer information, all your order information and everything will go into the same database that your classifieds are in. So for business intelligence reporting and things like that, you still only have to go to one place to get all your business intelligence across everything.
The reality is, Bonnie, we broke it out for two reasons. The first reason being that just like with real estate or any other vertical, there are nuances to public notices that are not there with private parties selling a bike, right? And secondarily, and you can appreciate how much work it is. It's an enormous amount of work to set up. So we do have people that have a legals category on their iPublish classified system. And I'm happy to show it to you. We're not interested in selling people things that they don't think they need. I think with you guys having the e-signature thing, that's particularly interesting, but there are people that still do it that way.
But if you're going to be, targeting and marketing this to legal institutions, I personally would recommend that you have a separate vertical so you can brand it. You can brand it to them.
You know who I'm thinking of in Pennsylvania, right, James, that does that? They run it through their regular classified.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. The point being is it literally is next to a bicycle. Anyways, it's not the way I would want it for my paper, but it is possible to do it that way. So from a financial standpoint, if it were something that you had to do, we'd help you do it,
Right.
But when you're telling me that it's a lot of your revenue that in a way is at risk, I mean, just even hearing that part of it, the H1N1 thing was allowed to go just online, that's exactly what we're trying to avoid, is making this a system that people can use across the country, really. What did Hearst call it? They called it I don't know, they had some sort of name for it, for this sort of company-wide push to do legals, because we know these digital things are happening. So anyways, but don't think that you can't do it under a classification category. You can, and we can show you what it looks like, because it does exist.
Yeah, I think we'd like to, if you can show me real quick, that would be great.
I'd like to see James, it's Shelley's site, DFM, Pennsylvania. And it's got a name that's I gotta think for a second, because they roll up multiple papers, right? Like they just bought Harrisburg. I think it's called Penn Live Now or Penn Now or something like that. I don't have the list of all the URLs. But
all right, hold on.
Yeah, give us a second to find it, Bonnie. We weren't set up for this. But and I'm not trying to unsell you our legal notices, but I want to give you choices, obviously. It's Shelley Meaden's, and it's called Go Pennsylvania or Pennsylvania Live or something like that. James will find it.
So what are we looking at cost-wise
It's just like all other
Yeah.
portals. You know, there's a $2,500 setup fee and it's $1,500 a month. It's,
Okay.
we're pretty straightforward and all that. And there's no per anything charges. You know, you're not, it's not, again, it's not sexy like, oh, we're going to sell Facebook or we're going to sell programmatic or blah, blah, blah. You know, this is just a workhorse. This is just something to digitize something that should be digitized. Did you find it, James?
I'm looking, yeah.
Hold on. I have the old email from Shelley. I bet I can find it. Let me look.
So if we went the route of adding it to our classifieds, then there would not be that additional charge.
That is correct. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. Oh, I'm looking at the calendar. That's not going to help me, is it? That's why I want you to see it, you know? Give me 1 second.
I can't,
I know, I'm looking
Oh.
for it. Give me a second.
no, I'm still looking. I just can't,
Oh, hold on. Oh, no, that's legacy.
is it Philly, DFM Philly?
Well, yeah, yes, it would roll off under that. Is that what they're calling it?
It's,
Sure.
well, this is their marketplace. Let me see if I can find it.
But what's the name of it, right? It's like Go Pennsylvania. It's got a name.
All around Philly.
Thank you. All around Philly. That's exactly right. So, and that's like for multiple mastheads. That's exactly, if you got it, James, there it is. So let's just take a look. So there's legal right there. I mean, and this is open to the public, obviously. I mean, you could do this, Bonnie, and play around with it and get a feel for it. I mean, it's the opposite of automated. You know,
Right.
It's not automating affidavits. It's not enforcing rules about insertion dates. I mean, again, all the nuances aren't there, but you can do it. It's just like you can do some parts of real estate in classifieds, but there are other things in real estate that are the nuanced things that you need to have on their own, and they need their own place to live and MLS data and special ways to deal with them. So it's very similar in that way. But regardless, James, could you copy and paste that link into the chat box? And that way Bonnie and Trent can look at it at their convenience.
Yeah, I think the biggest drawback for us to do that is the affidavits. You know, I think if we could completely,
because that wouldn't be in there.
that piece
Yeah.
of it, that's huge. That's going to take people out of the equation.
It's life changing. That's why I said this is my favorite product of ours. It's my #1 most favorite product for a reason. But I never want, as a customer, you know, my job is to be an advocate for you. And so if there is a different way to do it, I always want you to be aware of it, because there may be a reason why you have to do it a certain way for a certain amount of time, budgetary, who knows what the reason is. That's not my business. So that's why I want you have the link from the chat window. You can go ahead and play around with it. Can we look at the marketplace side and see how it looks? I wonder if they display them in their marketplace. Notices. Okay, so here they are, Bonnie. This is what it looks like.
Huh, interesting. And
It's a totally different, well, it's just totally different anyways. But I also know the reason why this particular market went this direction. You know what I mean? They had a very specific reason. So it's doable. All of these things are doable. It's just what the output looks like at the end.
so if with the independent vertical for notices, how are those displayed versus how this is displayed? Is there a difference?
Say the question to me again, please.
No, she's asking, so if they went with a separate branded vertical for public notices, how would those public notices be displayed? We would give those to you to display
However you want.
on, you said you're displaying them on your site now, so we would just feed those to your
But we're going to
webmaster.
you guys for our search and display. So that would just be part of our normal classified search and display. We would have a public notices button there.
You could, yep. You
Okay.
can do that, and we can feed. We can
Bonnie.
hold
You
on,
can do whatever you want.
So Bonnie, we can feed Marketplace from this site as well,
Okay.
because they're both going to be in the same database as well. So we can feed those there as well. And if you want them to look a certain way, that can be part of the discussion as well.
Okay. All right.
And we can also, James, am I correct, send them to the states that do require, or the counties that, or municipalities that require digital, we can send them there too, correct?
Yeah, but if we're interfacing, we can.
Yeah.
Yes, the short answer is yes. But if we're already interfacing these to AdBooker, and you guys already have a cron job that sends those to the state, we would just fall right in line with that. That would be your best way to
Just
keep
continue
doing
what
it.
we're doing.
Just to continue to do it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's a pretty cool site, you guys.
Great.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job, and I'm excited to hear you talk about e-affidavits. Like I said, we've been talking about that and researching that, and it's been on our radar for a while. But we're excited about this just because it's a better way to do it. It's a better mousetrap. What can I tell you? So
Okay.
thank you for taking the time to look at it. When the time is right and you would like to do something like this, let us know. We'll be happy to help you. But we're also happy to help you implement. If you need to do it in classified, we'll help you do that too. We really want to just make you successful. That's all we care about. So.
Well, we appreciate that very much, and I'll go and I'll look at that site. And if you have any sites, is this one of your active sites right now?
This
You were
is a
just showing
demo.
me?
This is a demo site right here.
We
This
have
is
some
an
of the
act.
old formats though, because I don't want to get the old. This is the old format, but
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, yeah. The examples that we have that are live, they require a login for you to access them, which I'm
Oh.
thinking you're going to have some of that too. So
they also don't have the newest interface. Like I know we're upgrading Anchorage as we speak. I just saw.
yeah,
you-
we are. Yeah.
So the ones that are live right now are Bay Area News Group, which is a DFM site, Anchorage Daily News in Alaska, and I don't know if they're live today, but they will be live, I guess, at the latest tomorrow. It's this week. DFM Southern California.
And I thought, for some reason, I thought San Francisco did legal
Oh,
as
you
well.
might be right. San Francisco Chronicle.
Yeah,
Yeah, you could be right about that, James.
but again, I'm almost 100% certain that they require a login in order to get into it.
Oh yeah. Okay, there it is. So you're right. Yeah. Okay, so those are some live sites, Bonnie.
Okay.
Not
great.
they're not the latest interface, I guess is the best way to describe it. Although Anchorage will be pretty soon, so when that does go live with the new interface, I'll let you know.
Okay, great. Yeah, that'll give me something to go take a look at and
Yeah.
play
And
around.
I can ask the sales manager there, Kia, if there are any open things that you don't need a login for. There might be some categories where you really could go around and play with it.
Okay.
So,
All right, great.
all right.
Trent, did you have any other questions?
No, not at this time. It's great to see it again, get a little reminder of what I saw all the way back, like 10 years ago in February.
Right. I thought we had shown this before, but I didn't think it was 10 years ago, though.
I thought it was last fall. So Trent said, hadn't we ever already seen that? And I was like, yeah, I think we did. But it seems like it's been a couple years ago with COVID and everything.
Right.
Yeah, I saw it at Mega Conference, and that feels like it was 10 years ago, but I think it was just February.
Right. Well, you hear of dog years and people years. Now you're going to hear COVID years and people years, or normal years.
That's why all this gray is coming on, because I've entered into COVID years.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, thanks again. We appreciate it, and we'll be in touch about it.
Anytime. Anytime.
Right.
Thanks. And thank you, James.
Yeah.
Have a great afternoon, everyone, and good weekend.
All right. You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.